All right, what are Hubat Collective? Welcome in. So we're gonna talk about destiny swapping for a minute. A lot of people talk about it. A lot of people say that, oh, like once your destiny swapped, it's like you have to depend on like God or all these other things. I'm gonna tell y'all a little secret. Not really, because there's no secrets, right? But I'm going to tell you something that a lot of these spiritualists won't even talk to you about when it comes to destiny swapping, which is it's actually a lot more simple to solve than you think. I'm sorry if there's like wind coming in. I don't know where it's coming from, but I'm watching the mic meter flip up. So apologies if there is wind. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know how it's like here, but it just is. So I'm apologize in advance. But we're going to talk about destiny swapping and how you can remove like hold on let me fix this wind real quick. Okay, so we're back. The wind, I was like the wind's gonna be doing its thing, and then all of a sudden the wind goes, hell yeah, I'm doing my thing, and starts getting louder. So we're gonna anyway, you're still probably gonna hear it. I literally can't fix it. We're doing our best here. Anyway, let's talk about destiny swapping. A lot of people say that it's impossible. They want you to go, oh, you have to go over here to get your destiny back, all these things. It's not that difficult. It's actually very simple. But when you're in the spiritual communities, you're getting told all these weird things that make sense due to you not knowing how to fix it or how to reverse it, or like damn, there's a lot of avenues we could talk about because it goes down to the avenue of death magic. It goes down the avenue of putting your faith in a higher force that is unseen. All these things, right? And I'm not here to diss any of it. I'm just here to do what any Nuwapian would do and to bring some truth to it, so we can stop this whole psychosis that's going over on a lot of people. And first things first, your destiny cannot be stolen. It can be manipulated, it can be stalled, but it cannot be stolen. Now, hear me out. The only way it could be stolen is if the person who is walking that destined path leaves that path. If the person who knows that they have a destiny, which is truly just a dream that's nestled deeply within the heart space, that is wished to be fulfilled, or a soul contract, same difference, right? It would only be lost if the vessel and or avatar who is in control of their life, of their world, of their reality, refuses to continue down their destined path. At that point, it's no longer your destiny because you're running with fate. And when you stay stuck in that energy of being stuck in fate, you no longer have a destined reality. You have switched your destiny to fate, and you are walking down that path. So you technically throw your destiny out into like a yard sale, and someone gets to come out and pick it up, right? One way you can prevent your destiny from quote unquote being stolen from someone, or from yourself by someone, I should say, is to stay due diligent. Continue to work on your path. You might have a few hiccups here and there. You might need to switch something around. You might have to switch not necessarily the label or the general aspect of your destiny, but the way it's going to present itself, right? So for instance, let's say you were destined to be a baker and you only wanted to bake cakes. Well, now you have to go bake pasta. Now you're a pasta maker, but you're still a baker at that time, right? Because you're still baking the things, you're still making things, but now you're dependent more on making pasta. That's what we're messing with when it comes to fixing your destined path. It's not that it can't be stolen from you. And another thing, I'll talk about it real quick. I'll interject it here. Is a lot of people, when they hear their destiny, they tend to get a bit egoic about it because they feel like their destiny is theirs alone. No, if you're destined to be an actor, you're going to be an actor along with other people who are also actors, right? It's not just you, it's a bunch of other people. And people might understand this, but we have to talk about it this way because no one else is, and it's causing confusion. Obviously, it's causing fear and confusion, and I'm just tired of seeing it. So when that happens, What you can do is overstand, like, okay, so I'm an actor, they're an actor too. Let me go down my path of acting. Don't be persuaded by what everyone else is doing. You know, everyone in your whole hometown could be an actor, right? But they all act in this one particular manner or this one genre of movies or whatever, and you're a different actor and you want to do all these other things, right? Like you want to do musicals and everyone else doesn't give a fuck about musicals. So your destined path is to just go down the musical route, right? No one can steal that musical route from you because they're not doing it, because you're already filling in that space, that role. Now, if someone comes around and let's say you don't get any acting gigs for being in a musical or whatever, right? Now, instead of just going to someone and then getting hooked up with the team and going somewhere, now your destiny implies that you have to make your own. Maybe you weren't overstanding that the first half of your destiny. Maybe you didn't get that, oh, my destiny wasn't just to be swept off my feet and took somewhere. Maybe I was supposed to be put here to build something new instead of just gravitating towards a group and then immediately going off somewhere, right? So now you have to go make your own musical, right? Maybe part of your destiny involves you being a storyboarder or a musical writer, you know, a director as well as an actor, right? And then boom, you have that. So many people, when they hear they have a destiny, they wonder what it is, and then when they find out what it is and they find out like why it's being stopped and, you know, the love of their life being stolen and all these things that go down that path, it's not as, it's not seen in the way that it should be seen. I'll leave it like that. Because let's say that you're destined to have like a romantic husband or wife, whatever, and you are supposed to be living like this huge lavish life, right? Who's to say that you weren't supposed to be already living that lavish life before someone came? And it's this flesh attachment with the destiny. We get so consumed with the flesh, obviously, because we're down here and that's all we can see is flesh and matter and energy in faster and slower vibrations to make things more solid than others, right? And we get stuck on that and we believe that that one individual is all, it is the one, and we forget that there's more than that individual on this plane. In fact, that individual was there to show you what you were deserving of, and maybe you just weren't ready at the time of that whole thing happening, right? A lot of times when a destiny is swapped or stolen, quote unquote, it's not because of anything that anyone's doing other than the parties involved are not ready and or matured enough to get there. Does that mean that their destinies are squandered and everything's ruined? No. Can it seem that way? Of course. But what you need to realize and actualize and understand is that it's not the end of the world. If you stay on that path and stay due diligent and continue to work on what you were destined to do, everything will put itself back together. Because again, I mean, that's the riddle to Humpty Dumpty, right? All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again because there's no nurturing, there's only force. And when you're stuck in that energy, you're trying to force something by only doing the actions and not really nurturing what you were originally doing and putting, you know, that causes stagnation. It causes your destiny to kind of stay further and further away from you because you still haven't learned that exact lesson that is needing to be learned so you can move forward, so you can elevate and levitate to next and higher levels. Another thing you can do with destinies and destiny swappings is remember that the world revolves around you. So if something was taken from you, let's just, you know, stick with the relationship thing because it's an easy subject. We can all kind of relate to it, right? So let's say your destiny is with a relationship and you're just not ready to handle that relationship. Let's say you're dealing with internal jealousy, or you're still struggling with your own being, like your own like sensual shadow work, or your sexual shadow work. I can't even say that word. They don't want me talking about this anyway. Who's they is my fucking brain. Anyway, your sexual shadow work. Man, I'm slurred today. Whatever. And when you don't work on those, it ends up putting barriers on those, on that path that you're on. And even though, and this is something I have to talk about as well before I even move on to that, we forget that even though we can pick up on energy, everyone else can too. We are energetic beings. Energy is our first language, and it's up to the person to either listen to it or ignore it. That's just how it is. So even though you may be ignoring the signs that you are being presented, someone else on the external, or your partner or someone who's close to your partner, might see that, and then it becomes this magic warfare type stuff where they're saying one thing and you're saying another, and it just becomes a war of actions speak louder than words. And when you're put to the test of were you going to fight for something, and it's not fighting as in like blood, guts, and glory, it's just fighting by, are you going to stand on your 2 feet and get what you desire? And if you are, then great. But if you're not, then that proves that you're not in that destined spot yet. I don't know who just cat called outside. That was funny as fuck. um, but understand that when it comes to destiny swapping, it's not that you need you don't need to take a trip to Africa and go get someone there to help you. You don't need to burn a bunch of candles. You don't need to spend any money at all. You just need to continue walking down the path that you were destined to walk down. You just might have to walk in a different way. You might have to walk down a different lane of it. You might have to overstand and oversee a different energy of what's being shown to you. It's not that the end is there again. You know what I mean? Another way you can work with destiny swapping is remembering that what's yours is yours. Like, no, it's the sayings what people always say, and you always hear people when they talk about destiny swappings and tarot readings or whatever. They'll go, oh, but God's protecting you, and God this, God that, right? It's important just to hear that and then move on, not to get trapped within the whole cycle of, oh, what are they doing now? What are they doing now? Because that's part of a cycle that you have to break out of, right? That's fate going in. But when you hear it the first time, that should be an indicator to know that God's already put something into you. Whoever your God is has already put whatever you're destined to do inside of you. And now it's up for you to move forward to do what you need to do, knowing that everything is going to work out. Now you have to be more intuitive. You have to listen to your heart more rather than paying attention to the rational outside of everything. And that can be difficult, obviously, but that is the path to walk down. At the end of the day, a destiny swap isn't real unless you allow yourself to be sacrificed. And this goes into the whole death magic thing, where people are thrown death magic at, because normally when you have a destiny swap that is a thing, the individual would pass over, which would mean it would be no fight, no struggle. There would just be them there, pooped away, and now they can just pick up everything that they had and move on with it that way, right? Sometimes you don't pass away. Sometimes you're not destined to leave. Like, you know what I mean? No matter how much a man will try and take you away, unless it's your time to leave, it's not your time to leave. That's why you have people who get shot in miraculous ways and come back unscathed, basically, right? It's not their time to leave. So God's not going to let them leave. Their God, their energy source, their spirit, their soul is not ready to leave this realm yet, because their timer's not out. They're looking at their watch like, I got like 15 more minutes. I ain't leaving yet. And I'll come back and finish my 15 minutes, however long that is. I don't know the translations for that, but you know what I mean. So whenever you are alive during a destiny swap, right, you have to sacrifice yourself at that point, because it's a failed sacrifice. You are still living. So the fact that you're still living means you still have a chance, obviously. And when you're alive in that state, that's when the fear mongering comes in. That's when all the fear, the scare tactics, all these other things start ramping up, because they're just trying to get back, quote unquote, get back what they lost, which was really their own energy, their time. They just wasted a bunch of shit. They humiliated themselves. They danced around the fire naked or whatever they had to do whatever the fuck they needed to do, right? And that's on them, but they need you to kind of feed into the fact that they won. And that's why people keep the act up so long, is because it's like, look at me, I'm doing all this stuff to you and I'm still winning, quote unquote winning, when they're not actually, because you're still up and moving. And as long as you can continue walking down that destined path, you're going to be fine. It's going to be a little bumpy. There's going to be some hiccups, but they're learning lessons, because everything happens to you. Well, everything happens for you, and for a reason. Nothing really happens to you, everything happens for you. It's to benefit you, it's to show you a brighter side. It happens to you because you're victimizing yourself. It happens for you because you're a victor, because you've won, because you're over it. You're overstanding, right? When you overstand something, it's different from understanding. You know, if you're understanding something, there's a difference. That's why I use the words this way. When you understand something, that means you're only looking underneath it. You're being put under its pressure. It's on top of you. You don't see it clearly. When you're overstanding it, you're over top of it. You can actually see what it is from all angles, and you know what it is. In fact, you've mastered it because you're over it. You're over top of it. When people say I'm over a situation, they overstand it. They're no longer understanding it. They're no longer under the pressure of why and this and that. They just get it, and they're able to move on because they're over it. It's an obstacle. It's a hurdle. You're jumping over it. You're maneuvering around it. You're not stuck there. A lot of people do get stuck there though, because they are unaware of how much power they actually hold, because of the lack of nutrients that they're giving themselves. And that nutrients is just the care, the love, the reps. I can't say that word right now. The what they're trying to receive, right? They're not aware of what they're trying to receive. Sometimes we're trying to receive the fact that an individual isn't for the best of us, or that a path of life is not for the best of us, or that um an idea that we have is not the best. So what happens is we're met with consequences or sequence of cons that goes against our actions, right? So it's important to know that. But when it comes down to the death magic and in destiny swapping, it's when you're up and moving still, it's still yours. If you operate under fear, and which keeps you reluctant from moving forward, which keeps you in the stagnancy energy, then the outside force, the other people around you, have a chance to rip things from you, to take what was yours and use it against you to where it no longer benefits you, so that they can benefit themselves off of your name in a perverted way, we'll say, right? But if you're not in that energy of fear, and you're still moving on, and you're learning different types of defense, and you're studying and you're educating yourself, not only mentally but spiritually, it becomes harder to remove those barriers, to remove that knowing, to remove that wisdom inside of you. So the destiny swap isn't even able to happen because of that, right? A lot of people end up hearing that, not even believing, but hearing that their star was stolen. And what's your star? Well, your star is your solar plexus. It is your life source. Your life was stolen. Why would you let someone steal your star? Is it because you were met with some form of repercussion that made you not want to do it? Someone, like, you're one of being a beauty model, someone calls you ugly, so you choose a different path of life. That's what you chose by fate, by the mental realm, by rationalizing it. When in actuality, that was just someone's opinion of you, and that was your make or break moment to elevate you to higher grounds so that you could be the beauty model that you wanted to be, but instead you went a different route, right? A lot of people don't realize this. A lot of people need to understand that when you are met with the opposition, that's your make or break moment. That's the time where you're realizing, do I sit here in a perpetual cycle? Do I move forward, or do I crash and go somewhere else? That's what you have to understand. So when you're met with the opposition, when you're doing what's on your destiny, understand that that's your make or break. It might last for a while. It's not like in the movies how it lasts for like 10 minutes or 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden for the rest of the movie it's their glorified life. That's a movie. Though that shows the steps, that 5 or 10 minutes could literally be months. It could be years of being overshadowed, of being overlooked, of being the underdog, of just doing things that you need to do until you get there. That's what's not shown. We get so caught up in time when it comes to things, which again hinders our position to destiny. It hinders what we're going to do. It hinders if we even want to continue going down the destined path, even though we know it's right for us, even though we know it's there to benefit us. It's time that we're so worried about. And where are you spending your time? Well, if you're spending your time on fear and all these other things, then you're not going to have enough time to worry about the things that you need to worry about. If you're spending your time worrying about what you need to do and what's helping you build the rapport, the backbone, the energy, and build your destiny back up, build your energy back up, then you will have enough to keep on going. A lot of times on the destiny path, we feel like we should just be able to just grab the destiny and run off with it because it's ours, right? Though it's ours, we still need to work and put effort and nurture it, right? What good is a gift that you have if you're not actually nurturing it and using it to the best of your abilities? It's nothing. It's like saying that you are like a really good basketball player, but you haven't played basketball in like 12 years. So when you get on the court, you suck ass, right? It's an art you have to continuously practice. Whether that practice is a spiritual or soulful practice, which is just learning about it, educating yourself about it, nurturing it in that way, or doing it, or teaching it, or just studying up on it. Whatever you do, just make sure that you're involved in it, so that your destiny is always with you. Because sometimes it's us that's lacking behind our destiny path. Sometimes it's us that need to catch up to it. We need to do certain things, certain tasks to get us to that level so we can receive our destiny, so we can be intact with our destiny again. And a lot of people don't get that aspect of it. A lot of people would like to say that what I'm saying is wrong as well, but it's not. If you continue to work on that destined path of yours that you already know of, especially if you know what it is, especially if you know what the people are trying to do to stop you, realize that it's the invert. So let's say you're having gang stalkers, right? That's just to try and break you from a fear of having people watching you, of a fear of people having visual contact with you, or people just knowing who you are. You might need to work on that. You might have trust issues when it comes to people in that sense, right? They're trying to show you a different aspect, though on the physical it may seem violent and evil and scary and angry and all red. It's not that way because we live in a spiritual world. We're just seeing things on with tactile vision. We're seeing things with how it feels rather than what it actually is, and we don't use feels with our heart anymore. We're worried about our five senses and how it makes those inflamed. So you have to watch out for that. All in all, your destiny is always going to be yours. It cannot be ripped away from you unless you allow it to happen. Don't victimize yourself in these times, even though it's something that your ego wants you to do, so that you can feel like you'll receive a handout or receive something. Because you'll a lot of people, and you'll see it too within the spiritual community, people being like, I don't know what to do, and they'll start asking questions. Or you'll see people who just give up and like, I'm just tired, I can't do this spiritual path anymore. Well, unfortunately life is spiritual, so no matter what you do, you're still on your spiritual path. It sucks for that to happen, but that's just the truth. A lot of people want to escape and leave, and it's just like, you don't though, because if you did, you would have already done it. It's not the fact that you want to escape and leave what you're facing. You're wanting to leave the mindset that you're in so you can overstand things. But again, people don't think like this because they're so focused on the physical, which ironically is not spiritual. If you're going to say you're spiritual, then don't focus on the physical. You know, be a physic. I can't say that word. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm trying to say. You get the joke. You get the gist. But regardless, like, understand that everything happens in spirit first. And what is spirit? What spirit are you intaking? Are you intaking a higher vibrational spirit or a lower vibrational spirit? What are you taking in a spirit of fear or a spirit of wisdom? That's up to you to decide at every given point in time. So next time you're faced with a fear of your destiny being stolen, or you walk into someone who's talking about destinies being swapped and stuff, and they're worried about all that stuff, tell them these things or show them this video or allow them to educate themselves on a higher degree. Because though these things exist, they exist because man wishes them to exist. And if you overstand what you're talking about to a deep degree, to overstanding like what a destiny is, what a swapping it is, how trading that works is, how there's has to be a mutual agreement within both sides of it. When you understand these things, you then begin to take your power back. You begin to take control back. When you learn things, when you have wisdom, and you have knowledge of these things, it becomes a superpower. You become invincible within certain realms of the spiritual era, because nothing can really hit you because your spirit's already strong. Your soul is already matured and wise. But until it dives deep within that water and nurtures itself and takes that dive, takes that leap, it's going to be immature. It's going to be young. It's going to be fragile and malleable and be able to be shaped into whatever everything else wants to tell you and what everything else wants to show you as well. Regardless, I wanted to make this video. I've been wanting to make it for a while, but today I've received like a few signs to make it, so I made it. But regardless, I love you all so much. Thank you for all the likes, comments, shares, subscribes, donations, everything. If you're wanting to donate, please do. It's going to help out with tarot classes, getting better equipment, all sorts of things. And if not, don't worry, you can share the stuff around as well. But regardless, thank you all so much for everything. If you're interested in any of my services or anything, it's all in the description as well. As well as the Malachi York books, Free Dr. Malachi York. But I love you all so much, to the moon and back, tenfold and forever. And I will see you all later.